Hi friends, in the previous lecture we have seen about different types of monitoring tools in DevOps and how and which factor you should consider while selecting any monitoring tool in DevOps for your software or for your application, right? Now in this lecture let's discuss about one important aspect in DevOps which is microservices, okay? Now, this is the most asked question in DevOps interview. What are microservices? And also, it is asked with monolithic architecture. Okay, so what's the key differences between them? So let's understand it. Okay, so if you will talk about an overview, so a monolithic application is built as single unified unit. Okay, so as the name suggests, mono, right? While a microservices architecture is a collection of smaller micro. Okay, independent deployable services. Okay, so you want to select which one is right for you, so it depends on number of factor. So we will see about that, and also we will see about what are advantages and disadvantages under these architectures, right? Now let's first understand monolithic architecture. So suppose there are three services you can provide over your application. So there is payment, then shopping cart, and there is an inventory. Okay, there are three sub-services for your application. Now, in monolithic, what you are doing, you are connecting all these three to a single instance. Okay, so what is the single instance? Whatever you are managing, deploying, everything is managed by a single instance. And whenever the users are or your clients are connecting to any of the services, it is redirecting to the services via this single instance. Okay, so that's called monolithic. Now let's go over it and let's understand in depth. So a monolithic architecture is a traditional model of a software program which is built as a unified unit that is self-contained and independent from other application. Okay, so basically what it will do, it will bundle a set of services in the single instance. The word monolith is often attributed to something large and glacial, which isn't far from the truth of a monolith architecture for a software design. Okay, a monolithic architecture is a singular large computer network with one code base that couples all of the business concerns together. Okay, so it's combining all the software or all the piece of code, all the business concerns that are in different departments, it combining all of them. To make a change to this sort of application requires updating the entire stack. Okay, so we'll discuss about this in advantages or disadvantages also. Okay, so updates are restrictive and time consuming. So let's understand with the help of advantages. So first advantage is easy deployment. So of course they are just single entity, so they are easy to deployment. Development is so also easy. Now if we'll talk about performance, so they may form faster because all of them are considered as a single entity and all the services are running in a single entity. Now, if you will talk about simplified unit, so you need that one simply unified unit for testing it, right? Now, as monolithic is unified unit, so it is easy in debugging. Okay. Now, here we have discussed that it's easy in development, but the development speed is slower because you need to combine all the microservices to a monolithic services. Okay, we'll discuss about microservices. So basically what it is happening here, so you are creating several services by their side and you are combining them to a unified unit. Okay, so it's making a development speed slower. Now scalability, so as they are, as you have combined them a unified unit for some of your sub services, so it does not give functionality of scalability after developed or after deployment. Okay, also you cannot be reliable because they are limited to only some services. Next one is barrier to technology adoption. So once the technology are fixed to those deployment, you cannot change that. Lack of flexibility, so you might have get that. Okay, and then you have deployment, so if you want to redeploy it you cannot. Okay, so they will cause in they will cause the issue in redeployment. How? So suppose if you are changing one piece of service, okay, so there are multiple service combined as a unified unit, and suppose if you want to change only one of the service, so what it will do, it will need change of the whole three service together, and it will change the whole unified unit. Okay, so that's what make redeployment bit disadvantageous in monolithic. Okay, now on the other hand, if you will talk about microservices, so suppose there are three sub-services in here, so payment, shopping, and inventory, so they are also connected with each other. Okay, and also each of them are having their own services in place. Okay, so they will be have their own services in place, they will be managed. So it's called a UI microservice, basically, which will manage every of them individually, and then it will, whenever the client will make connection, it will get connected to their particular microservices for the sub services. Okay, now let's understand a microservices architecture, also known as microservices, in as architectural method that relies on a series of independently deployable services. Okay, these services have their own business logic and database with a specific goal. Updating, testing, deployment, and scaling occurs with each service. Okay, you cannot do that with the same service like unified unit, like same like a monolithic, right? So in here it goes different. Microservices decouples major services domain specific concern into separate independently code bases. Microservices don't reduce complexity, but they make any complexity visible and more manageable by separating tasks into smaller processes that function independently of each other and contribute to the overall whole. Okay, so I'm hoping you are clear with the basic definition. Now let's talk about advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so if you will talk about advantage, so there are various advantage for using microservices. Okay, and in DevOps we prefer microservices architecture mostly. First one is agility, so definitely they give faster and reliable products in there. Now you have flexible scaling, so if you want to scale any particular service you can do that. Okay, now they provide and feature of continuous deployment too, so whatever microservices or any particular services you are handling with, you can make them redeployment. Okay, highly maintainable and testable, so they are highly maintainable. Okay, now as they are individual services, so they are independently deployable. Now as these are advanced architecture, these microservices, so they have now functions to collaborate or integrate with IT technologies. Okay, and they are higher reliability, and as they are having different type of organization entity separated, so there are happier teams in between them, there are no dependency in between them. Okay, now if you will talk about disadvantage, there are disadvantages also. So first one is development sprawl, so there are many development complexion in between them. Okay, exponential infrastructure costs, so if they are being deployed on different infrastructure or different services by separating their management, so of course they will cost more than the monolithic. Okay, also it will add an organizational overhead. You might have debugging challenges, so you need to look for every services separately. They might not have a lack of standardization because you are managing your all microservices individually. Okay, and also lack of clear ownership. Okay, so whatever the services, so suppose if the services are going to attach or integrate with any particular high level software or application, so there will be not clear that which microservices causes the issue. Okay, or which microservices causes the downtime of that particular or main application. Okay, now I am hoping you are clear with microservices and monolithic architecture, and we have also discussed about the advantages and disadvantages for these. Okay, so let's meet in the next section with new keyword in DevOps. Till then, take care.